Wow. So thank you so much for joining today, joining in the spiritual healing, spiritual healing perspective meeting. And I'm happy that you're here and that you decide to join today. And that's really beautiful. So my day was already like in full swing in terms of being diving deeper and deeper and deeper into the soul faculties. And so Joel shared something that I used in a little audio. But anyway, it's like it has been my day so far. It's incredible. So it's lovely to have you here, and now it's my possibility to share with you what I found. This is one of the things, but also it's like whatever is going to occur in this moment together is not set, is completely fresh and new. Um, we'll see what happens, and it's going to be given to us. That is where this say why this is so fresh and new and so beautiful. So happy that you joined. It's like a beautiful possibility to join, to recognize the truth of who we are, and say coming in touch with the soul faculties in every step that we do here in this meeting. Um, so soul is always a bit an abstract term in a certain sense, but when we go through this, it will be so much. It will say dawn on your mind what it actually is and where that you are in contact with it. Of course, like it's shining right through you. When I look at you, it's shining right through you, and um, that's the beauty of this. So the recognition of that is what we celebrate here today. And we were already starting with Soul Man as music. You know this song, it's like Soul Man. Oh yeah, it feels good. So it's like a recognition of connectedness. Yes, yes, we do this. Yes. But then we go even deeper than that and recognizing that all is one in us. And so that's one thing that's going to be shared too in the meditation that we're going to do to start calming down the voices that would be, say, in the way or that are screaming for attention, but we don't want any kind of contact with at this point. So I'm going to pull that up for you. It's a pre-made video, and it's great it's really like a contemplation. So there are expressions that are related to the idea of soul and soul faculties, and I'm sharing those with you. So you see parts from the Bible, from the New Testament, Matthew, and you see, say, some references from A Course in Miracles, the Urtext. Because the Urtext is the only, say, Course in Miracles edition that the word soul was kept in. And since I was working today with it, it's like 179 times it is used. And in the Blue Book, it is translated into spirit for the ease of it all. But I love this. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. So here's the meditation and of the contemplation really, and expressions of soul. So there's an expression with music. There's 5 minutes of, say, silence. Then there will be another one. I will share another time the, say, expressions. Then another 5 minutes of silence. And then we come together again. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. The soul knows, loves, and creates. The soul has no levels, and all conflict arises from the levels, from the concept of levels. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. The soul's functions are not relative, they are absolute. Each soul knows God completely. This is the miraculous power of the soul. Peace is a natural heritage of the soul. The soul is beyond humility because it recognizes its radiance and gladly sheds its light everywhere. Yeah, like I said, like the action of mind is the same when you meditate or contemplate, in the sense that you are listening. Now, the great thing is with, say, practicing, coming in touch with the direct communication with God, is that you do certain things. So you're not doing anything. For instance, you sit quietly on your pillow or in your chair. You close your eyes, like, well, whatever happens, you close your door, so you enter into your closet and become still. So this happens. Then it's like you stop using your senses in order to experience something. So that's a huge difference, of course. You close your eyes. Instead of the eyes, like look at your eyes, what they are doing the whole day. It's like basically when you're not meditating, you always have your eyes open, except maybe when you take a nap or go to sleep. But this is this is different than with meditation. So you see that these things are important in order to come in touch with the inner silence, with your inner world, with your inner being, with your soul, like to come to the place where this direct communication takes place. Yeah, you don't need all that. It's like, no, it is. Yeah, you cannot do it both or something. Okay, you can learn how, say, not to be disturbed by anything you see or hear, and staying completely focused on your inner experience. That's of course possible, and this is also great to practice. Anyway, like you can still do all the things that you do, but you're in fact communicating. You're in fact focused on withinness more than anything. Now you know all this. I know that you know all this. So it doesn't matter. It's great to be reminded of it. But what I'm actually trying to get to is of course the soul communication, or the direct communication. To take another look at it, and so in the course, like in the Urtext, there's a lot of references regarding the soul, and some of them are also miracle principles. Now that I find really helpful, So it's after reading, for instance, this morning, reading some of Joel, like in one chapter of Awakening, say, spiritual consciousness. Um, uh, you see that in the chapter 11 that I read, is Joel talks about the soul faculties, awakening to the soul faculties. And that's such a fascinating idea to me. It's like, look at the actual occurrence, what is going on. It's like you're awakening to that, and in fact restoring communication fully in your consciousness. Excuse me. So this, after reading that, for instance, I love to see what Jesus has to say about that in the Urtext, like to go into the yeah. It's almost like for me to read it in my native language. It's like this. Like, I'm so very familiar with the words of Jesus in the Urtext that I love to use that because of its deepening effect it has of the perception changes by reading that. It's the best I can do, in fact, in explaining that. So that the perception changes brings it to a certain point where you actually almost start to feel what it means more than anything. So this is in fact what I want to offer you now in what I'm going to share with you. So I do this for a very specific purpose. Like if you start to feel what is being shared, if you start to open up and receive what is being shared, and the bridge or the transfer into the direct soul experience, you could say, it comes closer and closer and can easily, say, overlap. And in fact, you have experienced your soul, even though you might not be aware of it right now, but of course you have experienced your soul. Like, so I'm not going too deep in it right now, but more like in the parts that we share, you will see this. You will see that it comes so close to what it actually is that you are invited to let that occur, to allow that to happen. You can say, like, perception is first perception. You get an idea, you have a concept about it, you have an idea about it, kind of an understanding, but that becomes so specific and so much to the point that it actually transfers into an experience of it. And so then another way of saying that, because I cannot be clear enough here, it's like another way of saying that is in fact the possibility of having one of these ideas, say, seeing them for what they are, they actually become a portal to it. So first you think you have the thought, but having the thought and being the thought become one in that. It's like there's no difference between that anymore. So it's like the words become literally a portal to actually enter into the experience itself. Now this is the offering, but like it's a spontaneous occurrence, so there's no force needed, or like, okay, if I try hard enough it will work, and that's not how that's going to be. So that's, yeah, it's a spontaneous occurrence. It will come to you, but I'm just telling you that this, what I'm sharing with you can really be like a portal to you, and allow that to occur. Don't think it are words that I'm sharing. Don't think that it's just a concept or a beautiful idea that you want to say, think about or something like this. I think there's more possible. And since we're now, say, entering into a deeper layer, even though in soul faculties there are no layers, there are no levels, there's just one level. But since we're entering into that, and we are entering into this, this is our opportunity. So faculties of the soul, I call it here. So here's immediately a miracle principle. And so the miracle principles are basically all in the first chapter of the Urtext. So that's a real introduction to the idea of recognition, you could say. So the miracle principle goes like this. A miracle is a service. It's the maximal service that one soul can render to another. It's a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. The doer recognizes his own and his neighbor's inestimable value simultaneously. So there's a recognition going on, which is the miracle. You know, the miracle is a service. It's what you can give to your brother. Like one soul can give it, can render it to another soul. And it is a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. The doer recognizes his own and his neighbor's inestimable value simultaneously. So this is, great material to contemplate, of course. The doer recognizes his own and his neighbor's inestimable value simultaneously. So I'm just letting that pass by. A miracle makes souls one in God. That's in fact what we were reading. So he once said that souls cannot rest until everyone has found salvation. And this happens to be true. It is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. The disciples, officially and specifically, were told to heal others as physicians of the Lord. They were also told to heal themselves and were promised that I would never leave them or forsake them. So since we're here in the spiritual healing department, you could say, I thought this was one to remember too. Like the disciples were officially and specifically told to heal others as physicians of the Lord. They were also told to heal themselves and were promised that I would never leave them or forsake them. Now this is like, okay, so how does that work for us here now? You know, how does this work? What am I going to do with this? How can we use this practically? And so the inestimable value of your brother, you can definitely practice that continuously, of course. It is more like you forget about it because you're so used to thinking in differences or some kind of hierarchy. And this one is of more value than that one is a little bit less valuable. Like, no, this one is really valuable. Like, we do all this continuously. We do all this in our thinking. You know, that's an automatic thing that the mind does when it goes its own way. So the soul is actually eventually becoming the master of the mind. So it's like the mind becomes the servant of the soul. So if you take that to heart, mind, soul, okay, if you take that to heart, you see how beautiful that is to have that as a reminder. So the mind is actually the servant of the soul. Yeah, take that to heart. That's a great way to say this, because then you see how it, say, functions, how it can actually communicate. Because if the mind has an idea, about something and it thinks it knows how to deal with it, it's lost, in fact. But on the other hand, if it becomes the servant of the soul, it knows exactly what to do and it can be used constructively. All right, so that's also another point. So the practice then of the inestimable value is letting go. In fact, the practice then is letting go of any kind of difference that you see between this person and that person. Like now recognizing their universal, inestimable value as a recognition of your own, because that's in fact where it always comes down to. So and great to remember. Now I'm actually, it's almost like I'm preparing you for some kind of attitude. Now it's like we said before too, is like this is not about changing your behavior, but it's really about taking a different look at what you're used to. And of course, we know this with the mind training and all this, training our mind in a systematic way to undo it of all its set patterns and set ways of dealing with it. But here I'm actually talking about the next step in a certain sense. Like it's the next step in it, because you're actually starting to listen. Like God's voice is speaking to me all through the day. It's like the still small voice is speaking to me. So I got to listen in order to be present in a way that is actually helpful for the whole freedom and peace of the sonship. So here we have a role, is what I'm saying. It's like that is already different than when you first stepped into the mind training, or stepped first into, say, considering spiritual ideas. Now it comes down to, okay, you're actually recognizing it. You actually see that you have a role to fulfill, and not that that's your concern, but you kind of prepare yourself, in the sense you prepare yourself to tap in to the right place in order to know how to respond to anything. And this is, of course, is everything to do with forgiveness. This has everything to do with seeing that what is going on in your existence, what has gone on in the past, and how to deal with this now, because that's the field of tension, you could say, becomes easier that way. Now, this is a very specific talk. I know. I don't know if I want to go in there, but since I'm here, I might as well. So it's a very specific talk because of this idea. It's like, okay, there's the past. I got some bruises over there. Something happened here. I know I have to forgive, because basically it comes down to I'm doing this to myself. I learned that. Like there's no cause of that outside myself, but actually I don't want to repeat it again. That's what I know for sure. So this say level of anxiety, say, increases a little bit when I think about the situation and the possibility that it might occur again, or that I might, like, not knowing what I'm doing, stepping right into it. And I don't want that. I know that for sure. So now you see that you placed yourself in a field with all these uncertainties. You place yourself in a timeline, in circumstance, in an event and past event and a possible future event where you don't know how to deal with. And this is exactly where the miracle becomes totally helpful. And it's like, so the miracle principles is then the inestimable value of your brother, of whoever you thought was doing something to you, of your biggest friend, or who knows what. Like, it doesn't matter, since there's no differences in that, in the spiritual view in this, and your new experience of yourself in this. So it's like the only thing then that you can do with this in your mind is letting it sink in, like letting it come down. Because if you stay here with all your considerations and trying to do it right, you're still not feeling it, what the actual, say, occurrence right now is for you, and you will not be able to get to it. So it's like you exclude your solution. You really think that you need to figure it out on the battlefield, and of course that's not going to work. So this is why we become quiet. This is why we say focus for a moment on the soul faculties and allowing the miracle principle to come to us to say ask for the help, because that's what we're actually asking for. It's like we ask for the help to see how valuable my brother is for me. No matter what happened, like at least this brother or this one is helping me to see that the solution cannot be found here. I tried it, and it really did not work. Like you cannot find it here. So at least this situation helped me to see that there's no solution here, and I will never be able to find it either. So the only option I have then is to allow this to come to me in a whole different experience. In fact, recognizing my oneness, recognizing that I'm not separate, that there are no differences, that all my ideas for a moment can be, say, let go of, in order to experience, in fact, putting the mind in the right place, letting the mind become the servant of the soul, coming first back to your peace. So one of the natural attributes that we will read too, one of the, say, attributes of, I think it's called the heritage of the soul, is peace. One of the heritages of the soul is peace. First, we enter into our peace before we do anything. If that did not occur yet, then we wait and we go for that. So this is exactly the place where the miracle can occur then. You know, so this is so fundamental and so principle. Yeah, it's like, this is how this works. This is the only opportunity you have then to have your difficulties being undone. So if the mind is generating ideas that, say, cause anxiety or stress or feelings of anger, you know that you allow the mind to say, be like a whole flock of wild horses running in all directions at the same time, while there's an opportunity to have the mind being put in the right place as a servant. So that's so huge. That's so huge. So it's great practice. So continuing quickly with the next, because like this was only the first page. Can you imagine? Revelation unites souls directly with God. Okay, yeah. So a revelation is being defined in the Urtext as an intense experience of God communication. It's a one-way, God to you. That's a revelation. It's coming from God to you, of course, coming from within to you. And there's no action required from you, except you won't even have a chance not to receive this. So it's like it's the perfect moment to receive direct communication with God. And by having this miracle mindedness, having that as an activity of yourself, you become, say, revelation ready. So that can happen more to you, in other words. That will happen more to you. Not when you ask for it, not when you know. It comes to you in its own way, on its own time. It has nothing to do with time. But it's an intense experience of direct communication with God. The miracle unites souls directly with each other. Neither emanates from consciousness. So the revelation and the miracle do not emanate from consciousness, but are experienced there. Okay, that's good to know. It's like, in other words, you cannot make it up yourself. It is a spontaneous occurrence, experienced in your consciousness, but at the same time having nothing to do with it. It's not originating from your own consciousness. So the miracle principle that follows here is this. Miracles praise God through men. They praise God by honoring his creations, affirming their perfection. They heal because they deny body identification and affirm soul identification. So by perceiving the spirit, they adjust the levels and see them in proper alignment, like they fall all into place as one. This places the spirit at the center, where souls can communicate directly. Now, see this one, I didn't want to miss this one today. I really did not want to miss to share this with you. Like after all the soul faculty ideas that are shared, this one is so essential. Miracle principle. Miracles praise God through men. They praise God. They praise God by honoring his creations and affirming their perfection, the inestimable value of your brother and yourself. They heal because they deny body identification and affirm soul identification. So they heal because they deny the five sense identification, the body identification, thinking that you're a body. The body identification. So, and all the five senses and all the experiences that are related to the five senses. They deny those, but they affirm the soul identification. Soul having nothing to do with perception. Soul being in direct communication with God. So by perceiving the spirit, they adjust the levels and see them in proper alignment. And this places the spirit at the center, where souls can communicate directly. All right, so that's a huge miracle principle. I could say it's like it's a summary of the whole principle behind all of this. Okay, one more. Miracle principle. The soul never loses its communion with God. Only the mind and the body need atonement. The miracle joins in the atonement of Christ by placing the mind in the service of spirit. This establishes the proper function of mind and abolishes its errors. Yeah, this is what we just shared too. It's like the soul never loses its communication. Only the mind and the body need atonement. And like I said, the thing that is with, like the soul does not need atonement. it is in direct communication, and it's not disturbed, you could say, it's not disturbed by ideas of perception. No, it's directly communicating. It shines its light, and it's in recognition. And so that's really great. So it puts the mind in the right place. Experiencing your soul, the mind becomes the servant, like we said. So that puts the mind in the proper place, in proper alignment with the soul. And that's exactly what that is. So that's also great to hear that, but also knowing that how this works, in the sense of, yeah, let's not confuse this. Let's not confuse this. So invulnerable is the title. Man's mind can be possessed by illusions, right? But his spirit is eternally free. If a mind creates without love, it can create an empty shell. This can be possessed by evil. Yeah, it's literally what happens then. It's like if you create without love, you create an empty shell. It's almost like you create a place where the ego can project, where you can project ideas upon that have nothing to do with your reality, which you could call evil. But the atonement restores the soul to its proper place. So unless there is emptiness, there is no danger. And emptiness is a false creation. The mind that serves the spirit is invulnerable. So the atonement restores the soul to its proper place, like it needs to be right in your consciousness and not anywhere else. You want that, you know. So unless there is emptiness, there is no danger. And emptiness is a false creation. The mind that serves the spirit is invulnerable. So the mind that serves the soul is invulnerable. Okay, so ready for one more miracle principle. The miracle restores the soul to its fullness. By atoning for lack, it establishes perfect protection. The strength of the soul leaves no room for intrusions. The forgiven are filled with the soul, and their soul forgives in return. It is the duty of the released to release their brothers. The soul is in a state of grace forever. Man's reality is only his soul. Therefore, man is in a state of grace forever. So now the interesting thing then is like the miracle restores the soul to its fullness. So this emphasizes the need for, say, the miracle work that we're talking about and that we're actually practicing, that we're, say, deeply going into on a daily basis, I would say. Like you see the necessity for the miracle work. So in order to, say, allow the miracle to occur in your communication, in your, say, dealings with your so-called situations in your existence, this is then the restoration of this. Like you allow the miracle, you perform the miracle, you allow, you ask for help, you allow something else, the alternative, to come in your awareness instead of trying to solve your own problems, for instance. Like, but that is the miracle work, that is the necessity for the restoration of soul experience in yourself. Now you see that when you come into the soul experience, that things fall into place, say, by themselves. And that is always an interesting idea, because it's like when you are in an experience where you feel no separateness, but you feel the harmony and the peace, you cannot imagine feeling separateness, you know, or separation. Like you cannot even get to that idea. That is so interesting to me. So a moment later, it can be that you experience separation, and you cannot imagine how it would feel to lose that, to drop that. But see, it only takes a miracle to return back, to be lifted out of this three-dimensional idea of yourself, to be lifted out of that and coming into an experience of the communication again. It's like restoring the soul in its proper place. Like the atonement restores the soul in its proper place. So that's an daily by daily, let's say, practice that we do in order to be open to receive that. And you want that because of the peace that is a natural attribute of it. So to be free of conflict, to enjoy that what is given, to enjoy the grace and light that is given to you. Soul, we're here, whoops. Soul is in a state of grace forever. Man's reality is only his soul. Therefore, man is in a state of grace forever. The creation of the soul is already fully accomplished. The mind, if it votes to so, becomes a medium by which the soul can create along the line of its own creation. Oh yeah, so I missed a word here. Now I get it. The creation of the soul is already fully accomplished. The mind, if it votes to do so, becomes a medium by which the soul can create along the line of its own creation. Lovely. God and the souls he created are symbiotically related. Like they are in one pair, so to speak. They're one of a kind. They are completely dependent on each other. The creation of the soul itself has already been perfectly accomplished, but the creation by souls has not. God created souls so he could depend on them because he created them perfectly. So here's one example. Like when you are afraid, you are deceived. Your mind is not serving your soul. This literally starves the soul by denying its daily bread. And you all have experiences with that. I know for sure. So it's like, yep, I recognize that. Yep. So the soul knows, loves, and creates. That's its proper place, its proper doings, its proper beingness. Okay, so I know that was a bit much, but I could not decide to take anything away. So and it's great to have this like in one package, It's amazing that we can just read this and share it together, because in fact what we're doing here is real spiritual healing, deeply going into the nitty-gritty or the basic foundation of how to look at this. And now it might seem concepts, like I said in the beginning too, now it might seem concepts, but you start to come closer and closer and closer to the place where this actually easily transfers into an experience. And I know that is happening with you too. So that's just beautiful. That's just really, say, coming to the place where you start to fulfill your function. Having the mind in the proper place is everything, everything that speeds it up. So first we train it. We train our mind in a systematic way. No, nothing I see means anything. No, all what I see is already gone. Like I see only the past. It's all gone. I recognize my holiness. because God created me holy and I'm an extension of the love of God. Oh, I'm surrounded by the love of God. It's in me. God speaks to me all through the day. There's not a moment in which his voice is absent. It's always possible to listen. When my mind is in the right, say, place, that becomes really easy. Then I know it just serves the soul. And then I know that I'm listening. Then I feel the peace of that and the joy that comes with it, that you really are being taken over by it. And the me that is taken over by it, I mean, the thing, that thought, it had an image of itself or a capacity of itself or a will of itself. See, that is what changes. So you see, like the mind training, the instructions in the Course in Miracles or wherever, in whatever spiritual healing setup or transformational program, you could say, brings you to this point. Like, okay, you got to see that what the mind does is not okay. Like, it's not okay the way that you think you should deal with it. No, it needs a different place, and as soon as it can find that, or you allow it to go there, then you start your healing consciousness, as Joel would say it. Like your healing consciousness starts to emerge, because in fact you're using your mind in a proper way. And being aligned with the soul, it has the capacity to give miracles and to heal and to to give and to create. So this is huge, is what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, be happy that you're ready to receive this. It's really great. So I said a lot, I shared a lot, and thank you so much for listening. Yeah, see you soon. Thank you so much.